Quiet men are often misunderstood. In a world that rewards loud confidence, flashy charm, and constant attention-seeking, the quiet man moves differently. He doesn't announce himself. He doesn't chase validation. He doesn't perform. And that's exactly why he becomes so powerful to fall for. Not dangerous in a toxic way, but dangerous in the way silence carries weight. Because when a man is quiet, people start projecting stories onto him. Mystery becomes magnetism. Restraint becomes strength. And suddenly, the quiet man feels like the only one in the room who isn't desperate to be seen. Most men talk too much because they're afraid of being forgotten. They fill the air with jokes, opinions, flirting, noise, because silence forces them to face themselves. But the quiet man, he is already comfortable there. His calm is not emptiness. It is control. He doesn't rush to impress. He doesn't need to dominate the conversation. And that subtle self-possession creates an emotional gravity that is almost impossible to ignore. Quiet men listen, and listening is rare. Most people don't listen to understand, they listen to respond. But a quiet man listens like he's studying your soul. When you speak, he absorbs the details. He notices patterns. He remembers what you thought no one cared about. And when someone finally feels truly heard, it creates a bond deeper than attraction. It creates emotional safety. And emotional safety is one of the most addictive feelings in modern love. The quiet man doesn't chase. And that's where the danger begins, because chasing is predictable, it's obvious, it gives people control. But quiet men don't beg for attention. They don't overtext. They don't overexplain. They don't flood you with constant reassurance. And that absence of pursuit makes their presence feel earned. You start wondering what they think. You start craving their words. You start leaning in because they never lean too far out. There is something psychologically intense about a man who speaks only when it matters. When he finally says something meaningful, it lands like a truth, not like noise. Quiet men don't waste language. They don't talk for performance. They speak with purpose. And purpose is seductive. It makes every sentence feel like a doorway into something deeper. Quiet men often carry depth that loud men never touch, because silence forces introspection. Many quiet men have spent years understanding themselves, observing life, processing pain, building emotional discipline. They don't need to show off their strength because they've already survived things that made them strong. And when someone senses that, they feel it. The quiet man doesn't advertise his value. He embodies it. This is why quiet men are the most dangerous to fall for, because you don't fall for them quickly. You fall slowly, like sinking into deep water without realizing how far you've gone. At first, it's curiosity. Then comfort, then obsession, because the quiet man doesn't overwhelm you, he pulls you in. He also doesn't react emotionally the way others do. Loud men often explode, defend, argue, prove. Quiet men stay calm, and calmness in conflict feels like power. It feels like stability. It feels like maturity. But it also makes you wonder, what is he holding back? What does he know that he isn't saying? Silence becomes a mirror where your mind creates meaning. Quiet men also tend to have boundaries, strong ones. They don't overextend. They don't lose themselves in someone else. They don't tolerate disrespect. And that is rare, because many people are used to men who will accept anything just to stay close. But the quiet man will walk away without drama, without begging. And that ability to leave is what makes him unforgettable. The quiet man isn't dangerous because he harms. He's dangerous because he changes you. Being with him forces you to slow down, to reflect, to stop playing games, because his presence feels real. He doesn't feed chaos. He doesn't entertain shallow attention. He makes you confront depth, and depth is scary for people who live on the surface. Quiet men often become the ones people remember years later. Not because of what they did loudly, but because of what they made you feel quietly. They made you feel understood. They made you feel safe. They made you feel seen without needing to be consumed. And for men watching this, understand the lesson. Quiet is not weakness. Quiet is not invisibility. Quiet is power when it comes from inner certainty. You don't need to be the loudest man in the room. You need to be the most grounded, the most intentional, the most emotionally disciplined. In modern relationships where everyone is shouting for attention, the man who stays calm becomes rare, and rarity becomes value. Quiet men don't compete. They don't chase trends. They don't beg to be chosen. They build themselves so deeply that when someone finally finds them, it feels like discovery. That's why quiet men are the most dangerous to fall for. Not because they destroy you, but because once you experience that kind of depth, everything else feels like noise.